Certain plans are always the best one and with the best memories. Well, can there be anything better to quote and start this session? Of course not. Welcome to another inspiring episode of Dr. Kamini Rao's Masterclass. Here's an exceptional person whom I met many years ago but decided to have him on this show. He's flown down from Vizag specially for this show. Yes, dear viewers, you guessed it right. He's come down, a very good colleague of mine and a person par excellence, not only in the field of IVF but also in research, training, as an entrepreneur and what else. A prominent keynote speaker, and I'm sure you would have seen him in many medical conferences. What's more, he is the first doctor from India to be appointed on the Global Advisory Board of Merck, Germany. If not for the COVID experience, he would have been there giving a lot of advice to a lot of countries who would have been that much more richer listening to the kind of experience that he could have given. A researcher par excellence and the founder of Krishna IVF Center. His father is a famous gynecologist, and believe me, even though he had a very big center of gynecology, but he decided that he would break away and start an IVF center which was a little far away from the main center, purely because he wanted to give an identity to this IVF center so that research, training and service will go hand in hand. Let's welcome none other than Professor Dr. G A Ramaraju on the show today. Welcome, Dr. Ramaraju. It has been a pleasure welcoming you here today.
Thank you very much, madam, for the kind words.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to share some of the views on this excellent platform, which I am an admirer and a keen follower.
Thank you very much, Ramaraju. I've always seen in your career, though I have met innumerable gynecologists, obstetricians, endocrinologists, andrologists, you name them. I've seen them all. But what has really impressed me about you is that your steadfastness about the fact that you wanted to do something and something different. You never wanted to be a run of the mill. You came from a kind of middle class family. Talk to me something about your early days.
I graduated from Andhra Medical College, and in the graduation process I was an average student, and after graduation then I opted to be a gynecologist, but at that time because of entrance exam I could not get it in the MD, but equally good alternatives were available. That was the DNB, which I opted and then pursued the DNB course at King George Hospital for 2.5 years and for 6 months at the Egmore Maternity Hospital, and then cleared my exam in the year 1990. At that time, DNB, or earlier known as MNMS, was not well known, but what I felt was, is that qualification valid in India, and is it legally valid? When I knew it is equivalent to an MD, how does it make a difference of 2 letters? For me, whether it's a DNB or an MD, ultimately I am a doctor and a specialist, and I am going to care for my patients. That's important.
Absolutely. But if you looked at the DNB or the MD, I would think that the patient would not really worry about the number of letters you put A to Z, but the kind of meticulousness that you had to learn the subject well before you actually ventured into IVF. There were many people, I would call them quacks in IVF, even though they were qualified insofar as the MD was concerned, but they were still dabbling in IVF. But you decided to go abroad, you decided to get across to Tinneberg and actually got an opportunity to be able to get on to the equipments. Your interest in the equipments as well as on getting some of the animal models, the oocytes, etc., and that fascinated you. You really got your teeth into the whole thing and you really did a great job. How many people really would be able to do all that and then get back, because you were able to steady yourself in a way? How did that come about?
Here what happens is, I was looking at a couple of decades of career rather than a year or a quarter. Then if you look at life and then divide it into certain components, and if you look at a couple of decades of as a career building, then you feel satisfied with your progress. If you look at year to year basis and compare with your colleague, you might be unhappy with the amount of money they are making. That's one thing. The second thing is, going into this particular field gave me a lot of joy. That's the most important thing. And when you are working in a place of joy, nothing counts.
On the one side, you looked at IVF and you were able to get on barren endometrium, you were able to get the babies. On barren ground, you were able to grow trees. I mean, sort of, they compare with each other. What about those 600 trees that you were growing? What really made you do that?
Actually, what happens is, I like trees, I like environment, and when Hudhud attacked Andhra Pradesh, there was a lot of devastation in the city of Visakhapatnam, and at the time, the commissioner of the municipal administration happened to be my patient, and I asked for a trees in one street, but she gave me a one ward of street. Then I thought it was a daunting task, but then I realized again it's an opportunity, and then I started planting them, using technology to monitor them, using photography to serially monitor them, document them and see the growth, so that I could understand the problems of street tree in India and also enjoy every day the joy of nature going around. If somebody gives you a huge land, you won't be able to build a wall, you can't afford it. You can't sell it because it's too large and there will be few buyers. What do? You plant trees and enjoy it.
Which is extremely good. But then, what's the difference with planting trees in your garden to planting trees on the sidewalks, and how do you monitor them? I mean, do you have people who are personnel who will go and water these plants all along in the wards?
It's like this. We identified 5 different trees, but what gave me an understanding is, here is an act of work where you don't have any control, where you can't complain, but only repair it or replant it if it is lost. It tells you a lot of things about life. The other thing is, it gives you understand what is forestation, what are the great people who are doing forests at a larger scale and respect their work. This is tiny, 21 ward is tiny bit, and 600 trees is nothing. And when people are doing forestation, like the Padma Shri who was doing a forestation, that work is phenomenal. My work is peanuts to that.
You mean Salu Marattimaka?
Yes, ma'am.
She's the one who did it. Yes, of course I agree with you. But apart from that, you've been training a lot of students, and that's also giving you a lot of joy. It's almost like planting trees, where you get huge trees that was actually giving a lot of shade. These people are actually training a lot more people, and then a lot more women who could never have had your treatment are getting it through your students. How does that feel?
Sharing is a joy, and sharing to the colleagues is much more joy, and empowering them with whatever mistakes I did and learn from them, so that they don't make the same mistakes, so that their journey becomes much faster, and they might help an unknown woman, which is an extension of my work. That's how I feel.
Absolutely. It's always said Dr. Ramaraju, that when you give without thinking and give without, expecting anything back. But when you get something, never forget. And that's exactly what you've been doing. You've been giving without expectation, and that is why you are happy as you are. But throughout your career also, you've been actually sort of had a lot of setbacks and challenges in health as well. And how did you overcome all that?
The first thing is, tomorrow is not unknown, and when I had an accident and a hip and 3 hip surgeries, but a TED class by a person who had a prosthetic leg and an athlete and a model, her TED interview made a difference. If somebody does not have a toe finger, they're worried. Somebody does not have a leg, they're worried. Here my leg is intact, only I had a temporary disability. And when you look at scar victims, their whole life is changed, but they move ahead with life with the same integrity and awareness. And I feel I am 1,000 times lucky than all of them.
Absolutely. Well said. I think Ramaraju, in fact, I had another an Olympic champion who had come here, Dr. Malti Holla, and she said to me, I said, what is your constant companion? And she said, pain. I said, why? Because she said she had 36 surgeries, and that's the only thing that stayed with me all the time. Everyone else disappeared, and therefore I started talking to pain. And I said, pain, we both better look after each other, because you're not leaving me, I'm not leaving you. Let me enjoy pain. And that's something which I learned. You don't go on crying, why me? And so she told God, try me. And I think that's the statement to actually look at. You start believing that you've got much more than somebody else. And so thank God for that. And that is what you also learned, a positivity in every adversity. Don't you think that that's important?
One more thing I learned also is understanding the pain of the patient.
Absolutely.
It teaches you again, when you are at the full blown of the career, you forget what is pain of the patient. Maybe you might have surgeries in a younger age, but as you grow up, you understand, you forget the pain of the pain. And this reminded me the pain of the patient. And it made me more empathetic, more understandable about the emotional or the physical pain the couple are going through.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Ramaraju, how do you feel that the young doctor today, across all sections or all subjects, they're at the crossroads now, more with all the kind of gadgets and technology that is coming up? Have they stopped actually feeling for the patient? Where is the touch and feel kind of the approach where we did that in the past, and now today everyone is only looking at the microchip, they're looking at the mobile phone, and they're looking at so many things, we hardly get to touch the patient. So if I were to ask you to talk to my viewers, there are over 20 lakh viewers today on the masterclass. Can you just give them some advice and say, what would be your advice to all of them for the future?
As a physician, your patient is the God, and respecting the patient and taking care of the patient and doing that makes a lot of difference. We should do in the best of our ability to help them in the given circumstances. We should not be judgmental in what they say, because their emotions are in a set of circumstances of pain and anger. But as physicians, we should learn the art of understanding of empathy and forgiveness for words that are said in pain. But at the same time, you should also move ahead and empower yourself with better skills of communication and using the right words of vocabulary so that it touches the patient and makes a soothing touch. In medicine, we lost the art of talking, but talking still is a major role as part of therapy and as part of the evaluation. Technology will never replace an assessment, that's where the communication tools of you between you and the patient plays a key role.
Because today the art of communication has been lost somewhere in the myriad of a whole lot of technology and gadgets, etc. So there is no substitute for communication. That was Dr. Ramaraju for you, and believe me, viewers, you must actually see his clinic and see the kind of research work that is going on there. And I would say I have enjoyed talking to Dr. Ramaraju, and till we meet again, thank you for watching Dr. Kamini Rao's Masterclass.